So Shawn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So could you tell us a little bit about World Fuel Services and your role and responsibilities there?
So World Fuel Services is a Fortune 100 energy logistics and services company. We deliver fuel. We supply fuel to marine, aviation, land. We also do applications around aviation and fixed base operation management, and we also do sustainable energy delivery between solar farms and wind farms throughout the world.
Awesome. And your role and responsibilities there?
Yeah, so I'm the CISO for World Fuel. I've been there since March of last year. For me, it's tremendous fun. The partnership there is great. I have people that understand what I'm trying to do to help the organization. When I first got there, it was a little bit more of a GRC type role, and I expressed the engineering and SOC relationships that need to exist within the security team. And so we've grown the team quite a bit, and some restructuring. The work that was done for the last 3-4 years was a tremendous platform for me to come in and make the changes I did. And I was very happy. There's some things CISOs don't like to do that are necessary, and so a lot of that was done, which was awesome for me. And then to come in, and now I get to do what I consider the fun part.
Fantastic. So you've been using AWS Cloud for a while. Can you share, some of your experiences with AWS and how that has helped your overall security posture?
Yeah. So quick background: I used to work in the government and the intelligence agencies as a CISO and security advisor in that structure. And so we started a movement to the cloud 2013, 14. We started talking about a lot of the IC cloud and the gov clouds within the intelligence community. And so I got a lot of experience with the AWS then for various classified cloud reasons.
Sure.
So it was a little bit limited. And then when I transitioned into the corporate world, the first place I was at was already moved into AWS, and the opportunity that I've had here has been tremendous. 3-4 years ago, we had 22 data centers globally, and later this year we will be closing the final 2 data centers, and we'll be 100% in the cloud. That's, for me, we're way out in front, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to hire. You have to hire a lot of people knowing that you're going to send them to some training.
Right.
But that's where, as a technologist, that's where everyone wants to be. No one wants to be in the comfortable, this has been around for 5 years, 10 years situation. So it's awesome to try new things that no one else has done. And it's crazy to sit in a meeting with executives and have a problem thrown out on the table that none of us have ever solved or thought of.
Right.
And I remember sitting in a meeting in September last year, and I just remember looking around going, none of us know the answer to this question today, but we're going to figure it out.
That's awesome.
And that partnership within the executive team, it's made it more fun than I could have ever imagined. So I enjoy it. Yeah.
So as the CISO role evolves, we've often traditionally thought of the CISO as being very technically deep, knows all the security controls, et cetera. And now that sort of role has evolved into more of a business leader, business partner. Can you share some examples of that and your role at World Fuel Services?
Yeah, so I started off as a technical person. I was an engineer. I designed networks, servers, routers, switches, all that. And I love that stuff. That was what got me into technology. I just loved tinkering and trying to solve the puzzle of how can I get this to do that. And I think that's how a lot of people get into technology,
Sure.
At least those that really love what they're doing. And that evolved. I remember pseudo failing a security inspection and that I was responsible for. At then, in the 2000s, security was someone's second hat.
Right.
And so I remember failing and thinking about the problem set that security introduced. I didn't suffer a breach or anything like that. It was just an audit, and it got me thinking more about it. And I transitioned fully into security as a primary job. That was the only thing I was doing. And so I think that helped me, as now I can kind of call BS on people when they say, "Oh, we're doing this." Like, that's not how that works. And I just love that problem solving piece of it. The GRCs, I began to love it. I think coming from the government, and having the black and white policy, the federal law, the
Sure.
White House memorandum, whatever it was, that said this is what you have to do. And the more I can memorize that, the more power I had. Like, not the right way to approach it, but this is what we had to do. I had a prescriptive, at the time it was overly bureaucratic, blah, blah, blah. But it was a prescriptive set of rules that we had to follow. And as I went in the corporate world, I realized I didn't have that.
Right.
I'm a fan. I believe that we need a gap for security to help guide us. But that policy, because of that breadth of policy I learned how we need to achieve a desired effect through technology. And then combine that with my technology piece, I'm able to have the conversation with engineers and have that same conversation with auditors and translate a little bit. I think also teaching computers to people who don't know it, you kind of have to learn it through analogies or whatever, how to translate geek to human.
Right.
And the business CISO, prior military, so I was a reservist in the military doing cyber operations for the Air Force, as well as civilian in the U.S. Government service. Our mission was different. Our mission was, defeat the adversary and don't lose lives, which is a very different mission set than reduce the overhead, increase profit,
Right.
like the whole different ballgame. The risk that I was actually explaining to one of the colleagues of mine here at the conference today was we were very risk averse in the government, rightfully so. We don't want to lose lives and we don't want to lose intelligence. But in the corporate world, you might make a decision that we can make X amount of dollars if we do this now, less secure, and we might only make half of that if we wait a week. And so
Right.
you make a risk-based decision of that transition. And I think that helps you transition into the business side because security is very easy. And unfortunately, we teach our engineers and our SOC and even some of the GRC checklist people, it's security, which is black and white. Is the door locked? Is the firewall turned on? That's
Right.
it. But to be a business executive, you have to manage risk, which is gray. And some security people who have a very yes/no mindset, they struggle with that. And I'll admit, I went through that evolution at some point in my career where it wasn't a yes/no, it was let's figure it out. It's a combination. It's
Right.
sorta. And that, trying to map that to the products and the profits and the reputation that different products we may have impact our business, that starts to give me what do I need to protect and how. The business doesn't care how I'm doing protection. They care, are we protecting the source of income
Right.
and our source of reputation. And so that's kind of on me to map that out. And I really hate when the IT people say, well, what does the business say?
Right.
We are the business. We're one
on.
team,
Right.
and it's not us and them. Yes, we work together in a customer service relationship, but we shouldn't say, what does the business want? Or let's talk to the business, because we should have already been together from the beginning. And so I think that relationship building is something I'm still working through at World Fuel. I think that's something that you continuously work through, particularly every time there's a new executive on the other side. They need to learn how IT, how technology, and how security enables what they're going to do or protects what they're going to do.
So, Shawn, you've been in the CISO role for a while, and you've been in the security industry for quite some time. How do you see the CISO role evolving over the next 5 or 10 years?
So, as we've talked about, CISOs evolved from the GRC technician perspective. I can't remember where I heard it, but I remember someone saying, a CISO saying, I just want to do the CISO job, meaning securing the. And I'm like, well, that's not what our job is anymore. Regardless of if there's regulation that's being proposed or will be there absolutely has to be some sort of regulation throughout the world that's going to kind of force that situation. We'll call it the SOX of IT security. So I think that there's going to be a natural evolution of CISOs advising boards, advising companies, because they need that third-party validation, or I don't want to say attestation, but kind of a validation of what they're doing. And I don't know how that's going to be shaped, whether they're going to be on boards or advisory to a board, or private sessions. And the board training is happening. NACD has some training there. There's a couple other offerings that kind of get there. Mm-hmm. But I think if we look at that, as we all know, certifications have a role in our industry.
Sure.
And there's value to them, and there's also some people leaning a little too much on them, saying, "Oh, well, I have this cert, so that means that day you passed a test." And so that's the concern I have, kind of with the certification or the training piece that needs to be ongoing of the security industry. If you work in finance or accounting, you have to learn something new once a year.
Sure.
If you work in IT, you got to learn something new every day. If you work in security, you got to learn something new every minute.
Right.
And so that same type of impact, it needs some sort of recurring education at the board level. And it also, while I would love to have general practices for security defined in some sort of format, I recognize that technology is so diverse that we can't have a solution that fits everyone. And so our industry, or not even our industry, our particular business, being as diverse as it is, from applications for fleet management of aircraft, of fixed base operations, scheduling, to a truck picking up fuel, physical fuel, and delivering it. That's a very diverse set of services that requires a different security posture than an Uber or a Marriott Hotels or something along those lines, where they have different security risk profiles.
Right.
And then you introduce into the board's risk appetite that you have to tailor. And I think there's going to have to be a need for, or maybe not have to be a need, but hopefully there's a strong desire by the board members to have an ear that they can bend on security approaches, right, to validate that their responsibilities, their fiduciary responsibilities on the board, is aligned with what the business is trying to achieve by securing their products and wherever the decisions are going. And obviously, the more regulation that comes, it's just going to be forced, which is a good thing and a bad thing, as we know. But the more people reach in to do it and doing it because they want to, the better off we all are. And the thing I love about cybersecurity is it affects all of us. I'm not a security person in the financial industry, but I love hearing what the financial industry CISOs are doing, because I have money in banks.
That's right.
I want to know what they're doing. I get into an Uber. I want to know that the trust officer is protecting my information in there. And so we are our own customers of the security industry in some way. And so we're protecting ourselves. I just have my sliver and you have your slivers, and so on and so forth. And so that's the thing that I look forward to the most when I come and meet with other CISOs, is I probably buying a house from that person's, from their mortgage company, or I've ordered fries from their company. So I want to hear about it all, because it's me ultimately that's going to be affected.
Well, Shawn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.